Starting to work on the cranes. First thing to do is to put the two plastic parts together. Now I've done that, I can get in and clean up the what's the word I'm looking for? Seam. So there's a little bit of seam on the inside. We just need to get rid of that because it'll look dreadful under paint. And it's easier to do it now it's glued in because it's just that little bit more rigid. There we go. We'll need something different for that smaller gap there, just bear with me. Okay, do the other side. Okay, there's a couple of fluffies in there, so we'll just burn that bit back with a little bit of liquid poly, just smooth it all off. Okay, so in our detail upset we've got some little covers for the hinges which give you an impression of having a hinge. So we want to install those first. So a little bit of medium CA. And probably best with my little wax pick-up pencil for this. There we go. Put that on the wrong way around, so we'll try that again. There we go. Yeah, that's on, that looks good. Let's do the other side. Okay, so that's the two hinges on. Next thing is to look at the ladder that goes up there, and we need to bend that, so let's have a look at that. We're going to have to bend this ladder the full length of it, so that is going to have to be done on a hold and fold, so let's get that out. Okay, I don't often use hold and fold tools for folding my photos. I don't like them really, but for a long delicate job like this they're probably the best tool. Just tease that up into place and then there we go. So we can now tease that out. Let's just turn that around. I think we're good. Just gonna bend that out like there so that it doesn't get in the way of us folding this up. Okay. There we go. Now then, all we've got left to do is twist all of those steps. So let's get this out of the way so the camera focuses on what we're doing. So we're just gonna let's just see, this is at the bottom here, so fold that out like that, and that should then sit on there. Yeah, that's right. So if that's the bottom, our step detail needs to be up like that. Just by putting the tweezers on them and ever so slight angle, ever so slight, and then squeezing the tweezers together just flicks that out. Well, there we go. So let's get this glued on. We'll just do a test fit first. Yeah, that seems okay. I'm just gonna check it fits on this one as well. Yeah, getting it straight is a little tricky, so I think what we're going to do is place it like so and then glue it on. So I'm going to put some medium CA on our base bit here and a little bit on the top where we know it's making contact. There we go. Okay. Attempt 2. I'm just going to hold it for a sec. I might edit this out or I might forget, so you might have to watch the whole thing. Just going to go in and put some glue in from underneath where it won't be seen, but will add a little bit of strength. There we go, that's finally on. Took a little bit of work that though. Right, so ladder is on. So the next thing we've got to do is the little wheels that go in the centre. So they're made up of different types of wheels and we need to sandwich them together. So we have this type that go on the, oh no, that's for the upper part of the crane, I beg your pardon. Right, so we have this type for the outside. Now, I've actually got some that are separated, so we'll use those. One, two, that's the middle ones, and then you've got these that go on the outside. So let me get those all put together and then we can have a look at putting them on. Right, this is our 3 pairs of wheels that go at the end of the crane here. And I'm going to build this middle set first. So I'm just going to put a small amount of medium CA on there. Okay, that's the first wheel done. That's the easiest one because it's got a solid middle. So I'll try this one next. Okay, that seemed to work okay. So we have to fit that into here. Which it just about does. There we go, that's in. So yeah, it will go. So I'm just going to clip it up a bit. and we'll put a little bit of adhesive on there like so, and get it into the right position. There we go, want no blobs of glue, so that is on. Seem to have glued a hair in as well. There we go, got rid of that. So that's our first little wheel on. The outer ones should be easier, but you never know, do you? What you think is going to be easier quite often turns out not to be. Okay. Like that. There we go. Nearly losing it. That won't help. Key is to make sure it's nice and straight. Right, there we go, that's our 3 end wheels on. So that was a little fiddly, but we've got there. Right, if we think that was fiddly, the next thing is putting this light on that hangs underneath. So that's made up of one of these and one of these, which we then glue underneath. Blimey. So, just going to trim the end of that so it's nice and flat, so we've got nothing interfering with the fit of that. I can see I've got a little bit of a nub, so I'm just going to take that off. Okay, right. Okay, let's see how it fits. Right, so we've got 3 little connection points. Sorry, I'm not going to be able to easily show you this on camera. There we go, I think that is on. Whew. So we'll give that a sec, just for the CA to dry, and then we're going to mount it somewhere on here. So I think what we're going to do is get our awl and make a little location point for it. So on the picture it shows it about here. I guess it was to illuminate what they were lifting if they were working in the dark. This is going to be tricky. I'm thinking sort of lower this on into it, but I can't really see. Right, I think that's in place. I'm just going to hold it there for a sec and I'll show you that when it's done and dried. Well, there you go. That is it on. So this has now become very, very fragile. So we've got a little item to hang off the back here. Now in the instructions we assemble it and then attach it, but I'm actually going to attach it a bit at a time. So let's have a go. So the first thing we need is some chain that hangs off the middle rail. And what they give us is this length of photo etch, and that's going to attach to this thing. We've got to cut that off, and then we've got a little bobbin thing which is in here somewhere. Is it that? Yeah, it's that. So it attaches to that, which looks like it has to be folded, and then we have a hook at the bottom. So I'm gonna find all the parts and then we'll build it up. Several little tasks we've got to do before we assemble this hook. First thing is to snap this off, which I've just done, and then we need to file the bottom totally flat so that it'll receive the photo etch parts okay. And that in itself is quite tricky because the part is so small. As you can see, I've just dropped it. Oh, I hope I've not lost it. Found it. Whew. Yeah, I think that's flat enough. Right, we've also got to fold these two parts. So this is the bit that suspends the hook, and we need to fold that. So I'll just use the folding tweezers to start that process off. So there's a little fold line there, and we can bend it over. But it's such a delicate part, you've got to be careful. And once you've got it sort of most of the way over, we can finish that folding process by just, he says, there we go. Just make sure they're lined up underneath each other. And we can just make sure that's nice and flat. Right, so that's the first part. We've got to do the same with the hook. Just need to trim a bit of tab off. And again, we can do this with our tweezers. line it up. Make sure it's flat. Right, all of this, these two parts attached to that, and that we've got to suspend off this cable wheel. So let's start with that. I guess we can have it any length we like. So I'm just gonna wrap it around this centre wheel. Got that the wrong way around. We want the texturing on the outside, don't we? Cool, this is tricky. I think if we glue it onto the top, we'll be then able to fold it round. What I'm not sure of is where the cable goes from the back, so let me just have a look at that. It's not clear from the images. Oh, okay. I think it's gonna go, when I look at the instructions, I think it's going to go to the cable reel on the top piece. So actually we can have quite a bit of a hangover here. So a little bit of adhesive on the top there. And I'm just going to straighten the kinks out of that. And bend that round the very top bit only. Get that glue down. There we go. Then we'll put a little bit more down the side where we want it to hang. We'll put a little weight on that, I think. Wow, it's thinner than the closed clip. We've got to remember that this is angled up a little bit, so there we go. Right. We can trim that now to the length we want. I'm just gonna straighten it a bit and then we'll nip it off. Okay, so hanging off the wire we have this thing here. So if we put a bit of adhesive on the end here, like that. Don't think you can see so well, can you? There we go. Well, I don't have carpet in here, but it doesn't stop the carpet monster taking parts occasionally. So where that hook flicked to, I have no idea. So I'm gluing this one on. I do have a spare. So yeah, that's on. Right, I'm going to take a photograph of that because I don't want to move it, and then you can see that nice and close up. Well, as soon as I switched the camera off, I knocked it over and it fell forward and landed on that, and it all broke off. So I've just had to glue it all back on. Right, I'm going to do the other one off camera. You might not be surprised to hear. But yeah, there we go. Quite happy with that. Very delicate. Obviously we've got to airbrush that. I don't want to touch that with a brush because everything will just drop off like leaves in a windy autumn day, so we're not gonna mess. But that I thought was going to be very tricky, and it was, but we pulled it off. So all we've got to do is attach some cable when we line everything else up. Now I might trim that off and go with nylon thread yet, to be decided, I think. But that's what the cranes look like. I just have to do another one, which I'm gonna do off camera. So I'll come back to you when that's done. I guess the next job will be painting. Right, for the next part of our build, we're doing this bit here. And we've got a very complex assembly. We've got 3 wheels to put together, which are sandwiched in between this, which we have to fold, this, which we have to fold, and then it attaches to that edge. Now, to attach it to that edge there, because this is quite a big assembly to go on that. I mean, it's tiny, it's minute, but in terms of weight and then gluing that on, we're gonna need something a bit special, and I recommend one of these. I think this is probably the best solution. I don't see how any other normal adhesives are going to put it on, so we're going to use magic because it's just ridiculous. There is no mounting point for it. It makes you wonder what goes through designers' minds at some times, doesn't it? We will have a go and see how we get on, but I'm going to leave that on my desk just in case. I'm going to do the easy bits first. I mean, none of this is easy, to be honest. We've got a part here, which you can just about see glinting. I mean, it's a bit of brass dust, really. So chances of me losing this are very, very high, but we will give it a go. Right, well, it's still in my tweezers and it's got adhesive on, so you never know your luck. Now, on the instructions, it thinks there's little location points, but in reality there isn't, so I'm just doing it by eye. And as I suspected, it's having none of it. There we go, that's the easiest one on. That wasn't easy. Right, then we've got a lever that goes on next to it. Let's get the orientation right for that, yeah. once again, we're using our magic powers. Right, okay, then we've got a couple of little hand wheels. That's one. Two. That wasn't so bad. Right, now we've got a railing, which is this part here, and we've got to fold that in multiple directions. So that's going to be fun. So let's get it out. So it glues along this length here. That's interesting. Alright, it goes from behind there like that. Right, let's try and bend it into shape. So where's my bending pliers? So we start by bending it here, and it bends that way, like so, and then this bends in that way, like so. Just going to put it down so it's so delicate that it's sort of twisting. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is glue the main bit on and then sort that little leg that sticks out the bottom on its own last. Yeah. Right, that's on. Once that is dry, we can bring that leg into place, and it sort of attaches on the back of this roller thing. Right, so our next thing is to fold this part here. And there's no way we're doing that with anything other than our little folding tool. So we have to form a little box for this. I think we're forming a box. That first piece is just flicked off somewhere, so I'll have a look for it in a moment. Can't have gone too far, but you know, the trouble is these parts are so tiny that you're never going to see them again. Wherever they land, they're just microscopic. Right, let's have a go at folding this one. So we have to end up with these two rods sort of flat. Well, we seem to have managed that. Right, let's get these wheels glued together. That's one set done. Get you in a bit closer, sorry. Right. Now then, we have to get that to sit in there. Okay, that's doable. So put some glue in. You need a thinner one. Right, that should hold it. There we go, we've got that assembly done. So I've just got to make another back end piece. But I could just glue that on as it is, to be honest, which is sort of tempting. Let's have a look. Yeah, having looked at it, it actually fits quite nicely on the lip there, so that's what we're going to do. We're not going to bother with the little connecting piece, just put it directly on there in the centre of the drum. Oh, where's that gone? This is somewhat tricky, to say the least. Right, that's that bit on, so we've just got to sort out the back of this railing now. So if we just pull that down into position, there we go. So I'll put some glue on the back there, and there we go. Just hold it there while it grabs. My glue's been out for a little while now, so it's curing a bit more slowly. There we go, that's that done. Oh, it's nice to be able to breathe again.